Remember that one time that I was telling you that non sequitur and you turned on the camera and went, "Oh, hello there. I didn't see you come in. Thank you for joining us once again for this, the 152nd episode of the Drunk Doctor Who podcast, wherein we discuss
152nd serial of Doctor Who. Or story, I should say.
Story.
Remembrance of the Daleks.
Bum, bum, bum. So hop in your TARDIS, travel back in time with us to 10/5/1988.
I was already in college.
Show on the road.
Okay.
You were watching Doctor Who back then?
I am Hatter. This is Holden.
That's me.
Yeah. And what are you drinking today?
Today I'm drinking water now. I brought a soda and I busted it and I realized that it was leaking. So I had to throw it out.
Oh. Okay, well there's Diet Coke in the refrigerator if you want one.
I'll go with water.
Okay. No, bro. Drink at your own pace. Alright. Anyway, so I am drinking Captain Morgan rum. Spiced rum. 80 proof, not the 100. And I've got a couple of shots of Blind Squirrel peanut butter whiskey.
Blind Squirrel.
Peanut butter whiskey, I love this stuff.
Still right twice a day.
It's delicious. Alright, okay, so this is the very first serial of the 25th season of Doctor Who. Doctor Who's approaching cancellation. But it
was so good.
It is. The problem was the show had become an embarrassment for the BBC. We've gone over this. And then they had that hiatus during the Sixth Doctor because they were trying to cancel it, but there was too much outcry. And so you get things like the Doctor in Distress. So anyway.
My socks aren't long enough, so when I cross my legs, they can see my ankle, which is very scandalous.
Well, it was 100 years ago for a woman.
There we go. Oh, not for men? They can show off their ankles?
Well, no, you didn't want to show off a shiny shin. That's why they had the garters holding up their socks. It was unprofessional, but it wasn't scandalous. All right.
Double standards. Oh my goodness.
When it comes to clothing, yeah.
This is a very erogenous zone right here. Sexual organ is the
only if it's in high
ankle.
heels. No.
Some people are into that.
Some double standards.
Not me.
Some double standards when it comes to clothing benefit women, and some benefit men.
Like pockets.
Oh, I hate. If I was a female, I'd still wear men's pants for pockets.
I wear cargo shorts. Yeah, nothing better than cargo.
I mean, look at all the pockets I have on this, you know.
Yeah.
That benefits men. One of the others is the ability to show off your sexual areas, because men can't show down here.
They can't have a low cut.
Right. But women can show cleavage out the wazoo, you know.
Well, I mean, men can show their cleavage.
Right, we don't have cleavage really.
Well, I mean, if you skip chest day, you're not going to.
Yeah, I know.
Gotta do those push-ups.
Right. But we can't attract women with like super incredibly tight tights or something the way that the other goes.
Oh, you might. Have you tried?
I actually look good in tights. Thank you very much.
There you go.
I have a good firm butt because of all the walking. It's the stomach that's not.
Me too.
It's the drinking. All right.
Like to show this off in some tight tights.
All right. Anyway, so this is the beginning of the 25th season, and this season they do a lot of callbacks, tons of them. In fact, this is the very first time that they go back to Coal Hill School.
The first time. Which, you mentioned later that there's a school named after the Barbara and Ian. They got married. It was like an Easter egg suggesting they got married or something.
Right. During the Capaldi era.
That's the new stuff.
It shows in the new stuff, the Capaldi's the 12th Doctor. The school, I don't think the school's named after them, but it shows that they...
Right now.
Yeah, that's the 7th Doctor right now.
Who's 12?
He's not on there.
Oh.
It goes up to 11.
Oh.
I need stickers, is what I need. But anyway, so during the Capaldi's era, they come back to the same school. Mm-hmm. And remember how I said, he was asking if he could be the caretaker for the place?
Oh, yeah.
Capaldi actually becomes the caretaker for the Coal Hill School. Yeah.
And he's expecting... Yeah. Oh, it's an Easter egg.
Well, kind of. It's a callback.
Callback.
So in that Capaldi...
Hartnell was never planning on being the caretaker.
No.
this is what put the idea in his head for the future.
Well, it's just a navel-gazing callback fun stuff for the people who've seen everything.
Yeah,
know?
like you.
Yeah.
And eventually me, maybe, someday.
All right, so anyway, in this, they go back to Coal Hill School, and they go back to the junkyard on Totter's Lane. Totter's Lane, that's where the TARDIS was. And Coal Hill School is where Susan, the doctor's granddaughter, went to school.
Speaking of Totters, what was that one guy's name? Tippy Tot?
Tipping.
Tippington of the Tipping.
I think it's a great name. Yeah. Anyway, so
I bet he makes great tips.
All right. But this season's pretty good. Mm-hmm. The next season is even better. Oh. With the exception of, I still can't figure out Ghostlight. I've seen it I don't know how many times. Still can't figure out what the heck it's about.
I'm sure the Drunk Doctor Who podcast will help with that. It always does.
Good. Explain it to me when we get there.
Oh no, that's
quite literally. It moves. It moves so fast. It's 3 episodes, and it should have been 6.
Is it like a Pulp Fiction thing where it's out of order?
No.
The plot just doesn't make sense
to me.
Yeah.
It's the only one I haven't been able to figure out yet. I
bet. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
But the Curse of Fenric next season is really, really good. It's this Doctor's best serial by absolute acclaim.
And I hear we get Cybermen back next season?
No, this season.
This season.
Okay, so we're revisiting the classics in many ways. We have the Daleks, and then at the end of the season, we get the Cybermen, because it's called the Silver Nemesis, because Silver is the 25th anniversary medal.
But
yeah, no, it's great. Also, in this serial, they show the beginning a commercial for Doctor Who being aired that night on the BBC. So the Doctor Who TV show is canon within the Doctor Who TV show.
Oh,
because it's supposed to be reality.
That's weird.
Isn't it funny? I love it because they were back in November 23rd, 1963, and the show did air at 5:15.
Ah.
And remember why 5:15 rather than 5 o'clock?
So that would explain No, I don't remember why.
Because JFK was shot, and they had a special news report that pushed everything back 15 minutes.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's why she demanded that the first episode be re-aired the next week, because their minds were on JFK.
So they showed the first episode twice.
They re-showed it, yeah.
Okay.
Because of that. And that comes up in Adventures in Time and Space, when she demands that from the guy. Yeah. Remember that?
That was a good one.
It was.
So would this explain and canonize the movie where the Doctor is a person called Doctor Who? Because maybe that's in the universe and it's fiction fiction. It's fiction squared.
Okay, that has possibly been canonized by something else. We'll get there.
Oh.
Yeah. All right.
Future stuff.
Yeah. All right.
Everything is canon. Everything is canon.
Well,
they're setting up the multiverse, right?
To be fair, it's kind of that. Yeah. To be fair, remember the Scream of the Chakra? That was going to be the 9th Doctor, but turned out not to be the 9th Doctor.
Yeah, the animated one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been canonized.
Oh, it's canon. So they specifically said it's not canon, and now they're saying it's like a multiverse canon.
Right. Well, so what happened was there's a scene in the most recent series of Doctor Who, where amongst the faces of the Doctor, they show Richard E. Grant's.
Oh, speaking of new Doctor Who stuff, we have some Doctor Who news to cover.
We'll cover that.
We'll cover it at the end, but we missed it last episode.
Yeah, sorry. We had not done podcasts for so long that I got out of the habit of deleting the old ones off of the camera, and we ran out of memory last time.
But we timed it perfectly, and there was no off-topic discussion, so we didn't miss anything, right?
Yeah.
Just the Doctor Who news. How is the new stuff? Are you enjoying it? Are you watching it yet?
Okay, here it is.
The first Blu-ray. Okay.
All right. This is the 60th anniversary specials.
I see some familiar faces.
Yeah.
Got the toy maker in there.
That's a toy maker, played by Neil Patrick Harris.
Mm-hmm.
That's the 14th Doctor.
Yeah, as again.
That's David Tennant, the 10th Doctor, who came back as the
14th Doctor.
Spoilers. All right.
But, so we don't have Shutai yet? He comes.
No,
next
Shutai
season?
Gatwa comes at the end of the last special, I believe. There's Donna, and there's Donna's son, daughter, whatever.
Wait, have you not watched it yet?
No, it is sealed. This was released in the United States today.
Today?
I went and picked it up today.
Doctor Who
It
News.
is a Christmas present to me from my wife.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
So I will not watch it until after Christmas here in just, 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So I just brought it in to show it to you, which is part of the Doctor Who news was that this was released, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I brought it in to show it to you. She's going to wrap it up. I'll open it up for Christmas.
Stay tuned
Yeah.
for modern Doctor Who opinions. I'm sure you'll love all of it.
I've already given lots of modern Doctor Who opinions. But yeah, I am both looking forward to and dreading this. Anyway.
Bit of a melancholy watching experience there for you.
Oh, God. Thank God for alcohol. All right. Okay, anyway, so back to Remembrance of the Daleks. So the Doctor and Ace land on Earth, and it's Earth, like I said, November of 1963.
Yeah, so it's like you said a month after the very first episode takes place.
Essentially, yeah, and not when the first episode was broadcast.
Yeah,
when it supposedly takes place. Because when they're burying the Hand of Omega, he says, well, the gravesite's been ready for a month. And he says, well, I had to leave immediately, and then I came back. And that's the indication there.
So, yeah, that was basically my only question for episode 1 was the timeline. And this is the first time humans on Earth are seeing the Daleks.
Yes.
And it takes place like a month right after that first episode where
An
Hartnell and
child,
his granddaughter Ian and Barbara leave. Yeah. Fun stuff.
Very fun stuff there.
That clears up the timeline there.
It's incredibly self-referential. So anyway, the Doctor...
Junkyard, the school.
So, Ace is from the future. And...
she got blown out into space.
The future for them. She's basically from...
Modern 89?
88, yeah. She's basically from 88.
Her jacket said 89 on it.
Okay, so 89, yeah.
But that might just be a... You know how the 2025 models of cars are out now? You can buy...
Well, not only that, but like class of 2026.
Oh, it might be like a class that...
Yeah, because she looks like she's in high school.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway...
16?
Yes, she was 16. And I don't know how that translates to Britain.
Primary school stuff.
Right, but yeah, she's basically in what we would call high school.
Yeah.
When she ran away. Anyway, so Ace...
Got blown away.
Yeah.
I still don't understand, the origin of Ace, but I think it's going to stay that way.
Well, hold on. Let me explain here in a minute. Okay. But anyway, so they go back. He's received a signal, and he thinks the Daleks are looking for the Hand of Omega.
Oh, that was the episode entry. Was the radio broadcast going out into space?
Oh yeah. Okay. So this is cool. We have a cold intro before the titles, which doesn't happen very often in Doctor Who, and
special things.
They're showing radio broadcasts from that time. 1988, but going outwards slowly but surely until they get to what was 1963 with the I Had a Dream speech. I believe it was 63.
Yeah,
it was either 63, 64, but I think it was 63. But it was showing the change in culture and the change in everything during those 25 years from the beginning of Doctor Who to then, which this serial leans so heavily into because they're dealing in 63 with the racism in the UK and the racism is also mirrored between the Daleks because the genetics are not pure for the Daleks, so that's why you have the two factions of Daleks. So the time frame going back the people, like there's bad guys who are like, yeah, Britain sided with the wrong guys in the last war.
He's a Nazi.
And yeah, he's a Nazi sympathizer, and I was against that. No,
I forgot to write Heathcliff on there.
Who?
The Nazi guy.
Yeah, you definitely forgot to write that on. Where's the pen?
Here it is.
Not that pen.
Oh.
Alright. So yeah, there's once you watch this, there are a couple times. This particular serial is Radcliffe is much deeper than it would otherwise seem, because it's echoing the changes that have happened during that 25 years, and it's showing how some people can't accept the other races other than white in the UK, especially in '63, and also in the US with the "I Had a Dream" speech, and then showing that in the Daleks fight.
Yeah.
And it's a great mirror on the time period and the fighting between that. You know?
Yeah. I did like the whole renegade Daleks versus Imperial Daleks.
And that happens many times in the future.
From here on out, right?
Well, yeah, but they're different factions.
Oh.
And you've got weird ones like the Cult of Skaro and stuff like that.
Religious Daleks.
Not exactly. But kinda.
Is it a cult like a religion?
A cult is a religion that will not let you leave. And there are several. There's at least a couple major religions that will kill you if you try to leave. If you go apostate.
Would you consider Doctor Who a cult?
It's a cult show. It's a cult classic show. But it's not a cult. You can stop being a fan anytime you want. Many people have.
Can you, though?
Especially these days. Huh?
Can you stop being a fan if you wanted to?
Yes.
You're not trapped?
I don't want to. I lost Star Wars. I lost Star Trek. This is the last thing I'm holding on to. Mm-hmm. But we'll get to that in the news.
We'll get there. Stay tuned.
All right.
So episode.
All right. Back to the episode. So they show up in 1963. She's got a boom box, and the doctor's like, "That's anachronistic. Don't have that." Anyway, the doctor notices a van outside the school, the Coal Hill School.
Long, boop, 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 boop.
Long area, right? And the doctor's like, And Ace is like, I'm hungry. And the doctor's like, okay, go over there. There's a little shop, and you can get something to eat. Here's some money. And she looks at it once she orders 4 bacon sandwiches and a drink.
What a meal.
Yeah. And I mean, she was really hungry. And she's 16. She's a young growing lady, you know. And her metabolism's really high. But then she looks at the money, and the money's all weird, you know, because they're in 1963, which is shown on the calendar on the wall, November of '63. And the money's weird to her because, and this was done in the original Hartnell era. Mm-hmm. When they left, they were still on that old system of 12 pennies to the shilling and 20 shillings to the pound and all that.
Quarts to a gallon.
Right. But then they went to the metric system of 100 pennies to a pound and that stuff. And remember when Barbara and Ian got on the bus and they said, "How many shillings?" And the guy said, "Where have you been?" right when they got back to their own time.
I don't remember that. That's funny.
That's the last scene they're in. Mm-hmm. And the guy's like, "Well, where have you been?" And one of the very first scenes of Doctor Who was Barbara asking Susan, "What's our monetary system?" And she goes, "Oh, well, you have this many pennies to the pound." And she goes, "Oh, wait, you haven't gone metric yet." Mm. And then that's echoed from that very first episode of An Unearthly Child. That is echoed in the very last episode with Ian and Barbara when they show up, and it has gone metric.
Okay.
Right, and that is reflected here in the fact that they're back to the non-metric system. And she doesn't know how the money works, and then she gets the kind Sergeant Smith, to explain to her how the money works.
Another callback.
Yeah, it's full of them.
You've had years to do all this. It's fascinating. You're tying all these things together. I'd never pick up on.
Well, you might eventually by the time you get to my age and watched everything 4 times. Okay, but anyway, great callbacks, phenomenal. So the doctor's distracted by this creepy little girl.
So creepy.
Yeah.
She knows that he's the doctor. She calls him that. She says the doctor's here or something.
Right, and she's singing the doctor's at the gate and stuff like that.
Some nursery rhyme.
She knows who he is when she should have absolutely no way of knowing.
Or it's just a creepy little girl that assumes he's a doctor because he's in the way he's dressed. He doesn't dress like a doctor.
No, he dresses like a traveling hobo, vagabond, which comes up in the serial. Anyway,
interesting style sense.
So the doctor's checking out the aerial on this van, and
he's measuring it.
He's measuring it. Yeah, he's tying ribbons to it, and then he gets distracted by the girl, and then finally, the doctor just walks up, opens up the back of the van, and jumps in. And there's a lady there.
Just lets himself in.
His audacity. There are several changes in the doctor at this point for various reasons, and I'll explain them in a bit.
Allison Williams?
Yeah. Anyway.
No, Professor Rachel.
Yeah. So she's like, oh, okay, put the coffee there, because apparently she sent somebody out to get stuff, which was Sergeant Smith. Mm-hmm. And the doctor's like, oh, okay. And then she turns and goes, who are you? And the doctor says, oh, this is a repeating signal? Yeah. But it's not...
artificial.
But it's artificial. It's not of this world. Yeah. And it does this, and they're having a scientific conversation where the doctor understands and knows everything. But she still hasn't figured out who he is. Finally, she gets a word and he's like, oh, I'm the doctor.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay. But he seems to know exactly what's going on, which only, especially at that time, 1963, an eminent scientist would qualify for the knowledge of, you know? Like, you had to know what the hell you were talking about.
He's on top of it.
Yeah. Anyway.
The latest technology trends. He's so trendy.
At the meantime,
she's like, he's with it.
Wait. What did you write up here?
Daleks, Stavros, Sergeant Smith, and Ratcliffe.
Yep. All right.
And then I did have creepy little girl.
Oh.
But I don't know if that counts. She's kind of being mind controlled. Ratcliffe was also being mind controlled, to be fair.
No, not Ratcliffe. The headmaster of the school.
Headmaster, that guy.
He was being mind controlled.
Ratcliffe was the Nazi.
A Nazi sympathizer.
Yeah.
And eventually a Dalek sympathizer until they threatened to kill him.
And then they did.
No, the little girl did.
Well, she's a Dalek.
No, she was a Dalek-controlled little girl with Dalek powers, force powers or something.
The battle computer.
All right.
Based off of Davros, I'm assuming?
Possibly. But I think that's a callback to the Fourth Doctor serial, where they had the Daleks and that other mechanical robotic race locked into a never-ending battle because they were both looking for the advantage. And they brought up Davros so he could use a human mind to try and break it.
Yes.
And I think it's a callback to that, because here they're using a young child, somebody with imagination who was not a computer-thinking person, to figure out strategies, a la Ender's Game.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So the doctor's in the back of this van with Professor Rachel, and this is just the regular military. It's not like unit, but is this like the precursor to unit? Because
this looks like and is implied as being a precursor to unit. They never state that it's not unit. They never give a name for it, and in theory, it could be unit, but they don't call it unit.
It would make sense that they would establish unit after the appearance of the Daleks. And it's sort of like a small-scale thing, too, so like the rest of humanity wouldn't necessarily catch on to it. It's like, oh, I saw a flying saucer. And
No, that's great. That's great logic. I like that.
Because they
so this is a precursor to it, they encounter it, and they go, hey, we need somebody
We
to deal
need
with
a
this stuff.
Extraterrestrial task force. What does it stand for?
United Nations Intelligence Task Force. Although later on in the modern stuff, they get rid of the United Nations as Unified Task Force.
Okay. It's still a unit.
Yes.
They
keep the acronym, but they change slightly what it stands for. Which, after Brexit, makes sense. But anyway, so yeah, it looks like it's a precursor to UNIT. Now, Torchwood, which we'll get to eventually, was created during like Queen Victoria times, and was going straight through into modern day,
which is now canon.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So UNIT looks like it was created in '63 after the encounter with the Daleks, and Torchwood was created in 1870s or whatever.
Kind of like the Kingsman type of thing, like a generational.
Yes.
Secret society thing.
Yeah. Cool. Protecting people who don't know they're being protected.
Yeah, Men in Black.
Men in Black. From aliens they don't know we're there. Exactly. Alright. So, anyway. Turns out, Ace is in the eatery, the diner, talking to this pretty good looking guy, to be fair. He's really, really good looking. And she's decently good looking.
They're flirting it up.
Yep, they're flirting it up. And in the UK, 16, I think 15 or 16, one of the two ages is legal.
Yeah. And he looked like he was like 18, 19.
Right, not, but he was a sergeant. So, but he could have enlisted when he was 15 or 16. Because like their age of enlistment when you're an adult and you can do things is, I can't remember, 15 or 16. I think 15. Mm-hmm. When you can consent to join the military, when you consent to sex and stuff. But I think their age of drinking is 16, which is funny. So you can have people who can have sex and can enlist in the military but can't drink, which is the same thing here.
Yeah.
But our age gap is greater and older. Because our age gap is 18 to 21.
Yeah. But our consent age used to be different back then too. So my dad was born in 45. I think you could go into the army at 16, but he had them lie on his birth certificate so he could go in when he was 15. But he wasn't supposed to.
Okay. During the war, World War II, which is actually mentioned in the serial, and a little bit thereafter, you could go in younger because they needed anybody they could get their hands on.
This was after, so 50. This would be 1960. So he went to the Berlin Wall site, was his station.
Okay.
So that could be Sergeant Smith. He's just went in young.
Yeah, he's right at that age.
Perfect, 3 years. He's.
No, Sergeant Smith looks like 18, and he would have been born in 45.
Yeah, and this is in a time period of 1960s. So
63. Yeah. So I mean, it's very specifically dated by the calendars on the wall and the commercial for Doctor Who coming up right after that commercial.
And so he's a young sergeant flirting with Ace.
Right.
They're in the diner, explaining the pre-metric system.
Right, and then they start walking towards the TARDIS and the van, and he's explaining that. And anyway, the doctor and the professor lady, Rachel.
Yeah.
They're discussing things, and then Rachel gets a call because she's been on the this CB device or whatever, and she's like, "What?" And she's like, she jumps out of the back of the van, and she sees Sergeant Smith. She goes, "Sergeant, come, we need to go because they're under attack over here." And the doctor looks at Ace and yells, "Come on, Ace!" And they get in the van. Random people just happen to jump in.
Consulted experts now.
Right.
Advisors, impromptu advisors.
Well, the doctor wins her trust over rapidly because he knows what he's talking about because he understands what's going on in a minuscule amount of time when we don't know how long it took her. But she knows he's smart and he's, if nothing else, a scientist. And she vouches for him pretty quickly as a result. So anyway, they go to the junkyard on Tartar's Lane where TARDIS was.
I think Rachel has a crush on Troutman. Wait, no.
Might?
Troughton, right? Troughton's the second Doctor. What's it?
Troughton, yeah. You're talking McCoy.
McCoy. That's
Sylvester McCoy.
She has a crush on McCoy. Well, I mean, who
Well,
wouldn't, though?
it could theoretically, it could be a physical crush, although there's not much of that in classic Doctor Who.
Look at that
But
smolder,
it could also be an intellectual crush.
Yes.
No, I got a little more of that from Gilmore and her. I got a little sense of, we'll get to him in a second, of Gilmore liking her a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Just a smidgen.
You're right. He's real professional, real stern, hard,
but he wants to keep her out of harm's way,
there.
and he's trying to be chivalrous towards her.
Mm-hmm.
I just got a smidgen of that. There's not a lot of it because he's very
Brigadier-esque.
Yeah, right. In fact, the Doctor calls him the Brigadier in a moment. He says, "No, what was his full title?
Group lead, group captain,
Something like that. Special group captain or something." Gilmore.
Group Captain Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So don't call me the Brigadier.
Yeah. So the van shows up at the junkyard at Towers Lane, where the TARDIS was originally in the very first episode of Doctor Who. And the Doctor, they all get out, and Gilmore's like, "Who's this?" She goes, "Oh, it's the Doctor." And he goes, "Can you vouch for him?" And she's known him for 5 minutes, and she's like, "Yeah, he's with me." Because she, like I said, I think she intellectually knows that he knows what he's talking about and knows what he's doing for everything he's already shown.
Makes sense.
And then the Doctor, it'd be like somebody...
Plus, they don't really know what's going on.
Right.
So they need somebody who seems like they know what's going on.
Right. Well, at this point, they don't know what they're facing.
Right.
But it'd be like me bumping into somebody else who knows more about Doctor Who than I do. And I'd be like, okay, I can vouch for this guy. This guy knows what he's talking about, you know? Something like that.
We have yet to find that person.
I'm sure there's somebody out there.
You are that person.
I'm sure there's somebody out there. I have just a few areas where I'm super specialized on knowledge. Doctor Who's one of them.
Well,
yeah. The others would be politics and games, you know. But yeah.
Tabletop games?
Yeah.
Playing any new video games lately? You play the tabletop games on the computer?
No. Every night before I go to bed, I come home. After the wife goes to sleep, I play a game of Terraforming Mars on Steam. I play a game of Everdell on Steam. In that order, and then I go to bed. I play the same ones over and over again because they're so good.
I used to be like that with Risk. Every night I'd play a game of Risk. And I'm trying to shake it up now, so I'm playing other games. I'm playing Minion Masters, Hearthstone, Magic the Gathering.
Oh, every once in a while, Arena?
Yeah, in TGO.
Okay. Wait. Magic the Gathering online or Arena?
Not the old one.
Okay, that's Magic the Gathering online, so you're playing Arena.
Arena, yeah.
Alright. No, every once in a while I'll mix it up with stuff, but haven't in a while, you know?
I used to play a lot of the Magic the Gathering games on console. They had the console games.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I played every one, like 2012, 2013, 2014. They're fun.
Alright. Those were the good old days. Alright, anyway, so the Doctor shows up and there's a man down. How many deaths do we have in this serial?
A lot of Daleks died. I lost count of the Daleks.
Yeah, forget the Daleks.
We had about 15 or so, 10 of which were off screen, about 5 were very explicitly on screen.
Yeah.
Like open eyed and everything. Like there's
right. Oh,
he gets the close up
Sergeant Smith
on the face.
And they do that to Ratcliffe as well. I mean, it's like, here are the wages of being a bad guy.
The people that get electrocuted, they're like, look at this guy, he's dead.
So the Doctor shows up and he examines the body of the soldier that's down. And he's like, yeah, he's dead. This was a high energy beam weapon. His insides are mixed up. Yeah. They're basically kind of cooked, you know?
Kind of like after eating Taco Bell or something.
Yeah.
It's all scrambled in there.
So the Doctor's like, and Professor Rachel's like, well, we don't have that kind of technology. Doctor's like,
Nope.
Yep, you don't. She figures out pretty quickly. She follows his line of thinking and figures out they're dealing with aliens because nobody on Earth has that technology. The commander Gilmore doesn't, because his military mind can't envision something outside what he knows, and he keeps saying it's impossible, it's unbelievable, etc.
The Doctor has the great line of it's terrifying to imagine that someone is more proficient at death than the human race, right?
Yeah. All right. So
that was a good line.
All right. After we do the summary, I'll explain what's going on with the Doctor.
Oh, okay.
Because he is quippier, he is meaner, and he is more condescending.
He's kind of returning to form like an old Hartnell, or how the other regenerations, the Brigadier, and sort of like the military-minded people, like especially Pertwee. Is that one Pertwee?
Yes.
When he was dealing with Unit, and he's like, "Oh, don't pull the trigger," and they're like, "We're gonna launch the nuke." And
right. But we haven't really seen this.
Yeah, we haven't
since
seen
Hartnell.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'll explain it in a bit. But this Doctor's much rougher, less.
As clowny
no
as
empathy.
He was in the
as clowny as he was in the first
series.
But like I said, I'll explain what's going on with that. So he goes, look, this is an energy weapon, it's a Dalek. And the Dalek's over in that shed, and it can't get out because there's no way out of that shed. And Gilmore goes, well, how do you know that? He's like, I've been here before. And they're just stressing the retread into this for the 25th anniversary, which is great. It's fun. It's part of the plot. So the Doctor says, don't shoot at it. You've got nothing that'll hurt it. And then the Dalek comes out a bit and shoots another guy.
This is one of the Renegade Daleks, or the white and gold? This is a white and gold Dalek.
No. The Renegades are gray.
Great.
The Imperial Daleks are white and gold.
Okay. I kept getting those two confused.
Yeah. So the color scheme helps with other Daleks in the future as well. So the Dalek comes out and manages to shoot another person, and you see him fly back into a thing with the energy beam. Yeah. So the men take cover, the Dalek goes back in, and then the Doctor gets... Gilmore tells him to bring 3 tank grenades. Rocket-propelled grenades. Anti-tank weapons.
RPGs.
Yeah. And they take it, and he goes, okay, put them here, here, and here. And the Doctor's like, this won't help. He's like, no, we gotta try it. And they shoot at the shed, and boom.
Yeah.
And the commander's like, well, no, we killed whoever was in the shed. He's like, I don't think so. And then the Dalek comes out.
Yeah.
The Doctor has Ace give him some Nitro 9. And the Doctor goes running forward into the side of the Dalek and says, hey, Dalek, I'm the Doctor. I'm your mortal enemy. Come to me. And he places the Nitro 9 on the side of a bunch of bricks. Mm-hmm. And as the Dalek's coming towards him, the Doctor runs away, but the Nitro 9 is there as a trap. And then he explodes and kills the Dalek.
Takes off the whipped cream cap, which starts the timer, which is supposed to be 10 seconds.
It was about 7.
She's not perfect. Aces, who said it would be 10 seconds. She's the one that made the homemade bombs from the...
Yeah, give me some of that Nitro 9 that you don't have, that you're not carrying.
Yeah.
So anyway...
kind of like Leela's Janus thorns.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Good callback. So anyway, they blow up the Dalek, and the Doctor literally is like, yeah, there's a small green blob in there. That's the small green men that the commander was talking about.
You see the ooze.
Yeah.
Did we talk about the caretaker thing yet?
No, not yet. That's down the... Wait. about the 12th Doctor becoming the caretaker at the school.
Oh, we did talk about that. Okay.
Yeah. So, the Doctor, so Professor Rachel runs up, she examines it, and she's like, oh my god, there's still some living tissue in here, or dead tissue, but it's organic. And there's another lady, what was her name?
So Rachel says there's an organic component, and she's the science lead, and her assistant, Allison Williams, says or occupant.
Yes, or occupant, which was a great insight, because basically the Daleks are occupants of the Dalek machine. Yeah. So anyway...
Or the little extras that they put the Dalek costumes on.
Yeah.
You said you can almost see them walking when they...
No. Yeah, the Daleks...
Like from the top up.
There are a couple times, especially in the early stuff, but there was once in this serial where you could see the tennis shoes below walking just once. But that's why they shoot the Daleks mostly from the top, and they don't show the bottom. But occasionally they do, and occasionally you see the shoes. On a TV back in the day, it wouldn't have been visible. On a 4K high definition, 7-foot TV, you can see it. There's just no way around that.
Speaking of old TVs, Ace gets sent off to... Oh wait, no, they go into the school, they're talking... Where are we at now?
Okay.
We're about to
They just blew up the
Smith's
Dalek.
house.
They just blew up the Dalek. And the Doctor's like, okay, we need to check out the school.
Mm-hmm.
So the Doctor and Ace go to the school, and they're talking to the headmaster of the school. And the headmaster's like, oh, welcome. And he goes, who are you? The Doctor's like, I'm the Doctor. He says, oh, you're overqualified for this position of the caretaker of the school. But if you want to leave me your resume and your credentials, we'll look at it. And the Doctor's like, wait, what? and this ends up being a callback later on to this when the 12th Doctor does that. Actually becomes a caretaker for the school. Which will be about 56 years in Earth's future.
So I get the school confused with the morgue, which is where
the morgue is very brief in this.
This comes after that.
Right, it comes after this. So we're in episode 1.
Oh, I thought...
No, we're still in episode 1.
Oh, episode 1 ends with just the mention of the Hand of Rest.
No. All right, hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
We're in episode 1. So the Doctor and Ace borrow the van, and Sergeant Smith lets him go. They're driving around, and the Doctor's like, he's talking about stuff. He's like, the Hand of Omega. And Ace is like, what? And he's like, turn left. She's like, right? No, left. And finally, she's like, well, if you don't like the way I'm driving, you can drive. And the next thing you see him switch.
They go through a tunnel, and he uses some Venusian foo almost.
Yeah, and they switch. So the Doctor takes him to the school. To the school from the junkyard. And then he's like, okay, I want to investigate because I think there are Daleks here. And then she's like, why do you think that? Well, because I left the Hand of Omega around here, And she's like, okay. And they're looking around, and the headmaster says, yeah. He's like, what? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Look around. And
he's got the little...
Yeah, we find out later he's got a little mind control thing on him. The Doctor's like, okay, so they go look in the basement. In the basement, they find a transmat, which we saw previously in the Sontaran experiment.
Oh, yeah.
With the 4th Doctor. So Dalek starts transmatting in, and the Doctor sends it back and messes with the transmat machine. And the Ace is like, what's going to happen? The Doctor's like, well, somebody's going to come and fix it. She's like, wait, human or Dalek? He's like, oh, Dalek. And then the Dalek shows up.
Yeah.
And it's, once again, one of the renegade Daleks.
Yeah, so they take off up the stairs.
Right. The Daleks are like, run.
They'd be safe, yeah. But no, the Daleks have conquered the stairs.
And it starts elevating, yeah.
Whoosh, 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 the Dalek floating up the stairs. And then end of episode 1.
Right, he's like, exterminate, you are the Doctor, you are the enemy of Daleks, exterminate. End of episode 1. And this is the very first time we ever see Daleks able to fly. In the future, they're able to fly a lot. But it's the very first time we see it, and most people don't realize it's in the classic show.
Oh.
Because they think the Daleks only started being able to fly in the modern show.
Well, maybe it's like, intermediate flight, where it's more hovering. They can...
Well, yeah, but it's hovering up the stairs. Yeah. But it's essentially flight.
So it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's their way to walk up the stairs, which had traditionally, like even in the last episode, we saw of the Daleks with Tom Baker, with the two Daleks and the other race that were locked in combat.
Yeah.
Tom Baker goes up the shaft and says, ha ha ha, you know?
Yeah,
because the Daleks can't do that. This is the first time Daleks go up the stairs.
Wheelchair ramp to go up and down in their spaceships.
Yeah. So, Ace runs out the door, and the caretaker, the headmaster of the school, knees Ace in the stomach, knocking her out.
Yeah.
She falls down winded and bars the door. And this door to the basement reminded me so much of the door to the basement in the school in Knowing.
Oh.
Well, I'll show it to you. It's
literally... Yeah, you did show me Knowing.
Okay, I showed you Knowing. But remember, it's the hallway, and there's a door to the basement on the right going down, and on the back of the door was all the scratches.
Same set.
No, but same design.
Yeah, maybe they modeled it. Maybe they're a Doctor Who fan.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so episode 2, Ace wakes up.
Open the door, Ace.
He's like, open the door. She gets her wind back. And she got kneed in the stomach and lost her wind.
So
she knees him in the groin.
The favor.
Yeah, he goes down. As anyone
hard.
kneed in the groin, hard is going to go down. And she unbars the door. The doctor falls through because he was leaning on it so heavily, and she shuts it and bars it. Which I don't know why the Dalek didn't just blow this wooden door off the hinges.
He does though. They take off. He asks about the caretaker, and she goes, "Oh, stomachache," and then
the headmaster.
Yeah, disagreement, and then they take off. Oh. And while he's laying there waking up, the Dalek blows the door open, and the guy finishes getting up, and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I failed."
Right, but you forgot the great line.
What was the line?
She goes, oh, I think it's bad indigestion, and the doctor goes, school food.
School food, yeah.
Oh man. So anyway, they get away.
Splitsville.
Yeah, Splitsville. But the doctor knows there's a transmat beam down there that's bringing other Daleks down, and he said,
"Take them long to repair."
Right, it wasn't too long to repair it, but he slowed them down. Then they go back to the headquarters.
Yes. Unit/not unit headquarters, which is based by the school, in the school?
Relatively near.
The junkyard.
No, not in the junkyard.
Oh. That's where Ratcliffe's men work. The movie company?
No. The Ratcliffe has his own yard. Totter's Lane junkyard says yada yada Totter's Lane. Ratcliffe has a different gate that's green, not blue, and it says Ratcliffe Construction on it.
Yeah. You're right. A lot of set pieces. This was an expansive serial for 4 episodes. They have like spaceships, like big spaceship model.
Yeah.
Not even a model, like it's just they made like a house size.
Once again, kind of a 25th anniversary special. This whole season was. Although the Silver Nemesis would be very specifically that, in as much as there was one. Hence the name. But anyway, so they go back, and Professor Rachel is trying to figure out, she's like, I have questions for the doctor. He's the only one that seems to know what's going on, and he knows more about these Daleks than any of us, you know? And Sergeant Smith is obviously the second in command under the, what's his name? Command,
Gilmore. Captain?
Group Captain Gilmore.
And not the Brigadier.
Yeah, not Brigadier. He says, don't call me Brigadier. Group Captain. Alright, you keep advancing the plot. I'll be able to use the restroom real quick.
Alright. So we did see the headmaster's headship, and they go into the transmat. So while they're at this like unit headquarters, they're chatting and saying all this stuff. The doctor's like, oh, I gotta... Can someone look after Ace? She needs a place to stay. So they put her up at Sergeant Smith's mom's place, which she runs a boarding house. So she's going to be safe there. In the meantime, the doctor's like, back when I was Hartnell, I went and I stashed this thing called the Hand of Rassilon in this space casket. So I left at this morgue, and they travel back in time. So it's only been like a month since that happened with the original Hartnell doctor. So McCoy goes to pick it up. And the guy's real confused because it's like this kind of space futuristic looking casket. And he goes, I'm here for the casket. He goes, oh, right, of course, you're the doctor. And then he's like, here it is. And the doctor's like, can I be alone with it? The guy takes off and he calls the governor, who he calls the governor, who runs the morgue, I suppose. He says, I thought it was a surly, white-haired old fellow, but, this doctor here guy is here to pick up the casket. He's a little late, by the way, because they mentioned the gravesite was prepared like a month ago. Oh boy. Yeah, so the doctor's talking to the casket, and he opens it up, and he borrowed Ace's bat, and he puts the bat in the casket that holds the Hand of Rassilon, which is this, we find out later, this powerful energy source that was used for customizing stars. So I imagine it has something to do with like terraforming planets and making things more habitable. I think it's because that's why you would want to customize a star, is to make a system more habitable for life, or maybe planets are too cold, too hot, you heat up the star, cool it down. I don't know. But it's this massive energy source thing that they keep in this little casket. And he puts the bat inside, and he's talking to it, and he just says, open, and he puts the bat in, and he says, okay, now give it back, and he says, close, and he's like, all right, follow me, and the casket gets up and starts floating, and the guy, the assistant who's talking to governor, he hangs up he's on the phone, and the door opens, and the doctor's like, all right, thank you very much, I'm heading out. He's like, oh, right, of course. Wait, don't you need some pallbearer? And then you see the casket just like levitating by itself, and he passes out. So, in the meantime, the doctor walks the casket all the way, apparently without being noticed. I guess he takes the back alleys. He walks it to the gravesite. Well, I guess it would be right there at the morgue building. So he just walks it out. Luckily, the governor guy that the guy was talking to on the phone is he's blind, so he doesn't even know that the casket's just levitating by itself. So he mentions, your pallbearers, they're very silent, quiet as ghosts. The doctor's like, yes, I know. And he buries the casket, which is the Hand of Rassilon, to cover it up or hide it or whatever. And then afterwards he goes to this diner, and he's talking to this guy, and it's this African American, or African England, African British guy, and he runs this diner, and the doctor's really heavy on this decision that he made to hide the Hand of Rassilon on Earth, and unintended consequences. People are dying because of this. So he's like, if I didn't take the Hand of Rassilon here and hide it here, these soldiers wouldn't have died. And he's heavy on the weight of his decisions and the unintended consequences. So the very nice diner owner, he's like, would you like some sugar for your tea? And the doctor's like, I'm losing all confidence. I don't even know. Do I want sugar with my tea? What will happen? What effects will it have? What consequences? And the guy's like, I think you're overthinking. It's just sugar. And he's like, yeah, but, makes no difference if I add sugar to my tea or not. It just might taste different on my taste buds. But what if sugar didn't exist? What if there weren't cane farmers? What would have been the consequences of that? And the guy's like, well, if sugar wasn't a thing and the spice trade didn't blow up like it did, then my grandfather wouldn't have been sold into slavery, and yada yada. We're talking about the unintended consequences of the doctor hiding the Hand of Rassilon
Hand of Omega.
Hand of Omega, that's right. So it's the sugar scene where he's contemplating putting sugar in his tear nut.
And they've got that guy behind the counter who's not the guy who was there earlier, because he was with his wife who was giving birth to twins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But this guy is Jamaican, or which was part of the UK. So he has the accent. Yeah. He's got the accent, and he's very philosophical. And you could have cut that scene from the episode, and it would have mattered for the plot. But it's a great scene, and I love the character of the Jamaican behind the counter. It's fantastic.
It really ties together the whole the period piece of the 1960s, post World War II. It ties together the themes of racial tensions between the two warring Dalek factions. But it also,
and the stuff in there with the races and the no colors and that kind of thing.
And it also ties into... we were talking about how Ace was staying at the boarding home. Mom. And it also ties together the Doctor questioning his own decisions. He's like, should I put sugar in my tea? What are the unintended consequences of that? Which is, I think, him contemplating the deaths of the soldiers, which would have never happened had he not chosen to hide the Hand of Rassilon on Earth.
Right. Very philosophical, very, very good. And I love the character of the Jamaican guy. Did you talk about the...
Just the diner scene and Ace at the boarding home.
But did you talk about the slavery issue with sugar?
Yeah, we were just getting into that.
Okay.
Yeah, and how he's like, well, what are the unintended... He's like, oh, it just tastes different on my taste buds.
Yeah.
And well, what if sugar, the trait spice didn't blow up? What would happen? He's like, well, my grandfather...
Right.
Yada.
Okay, so
we just covered that.
What you gotta do, use your restroom. Alright, so... in this philosophical discussion, because the Doctor says, well, if I could make everybody not eat sugar, and the Jamaican guy's like, well, then I wouldn't be here in the United Kingdom, because my grandfather was sent as a slave, or great-grandfather, whatever, was sent as a slave to the Jamaicans area to harvest sugarcane, because he was a sugarcane guy. And this was true. Slavery in the Western world, specifically Europe and North and South America, was we're talking about United Kingdom, Spain, France, those Western European countries, was ignited not by tobacco, not by cotton. It was ignited and put into full bloom by sugar. Not alcohol, not rum or anything, but sugar. Because in like the 1700s, after discovering Jamaica and Louisiana and places where sugarcane grow, the Europeans developed an addiction, like most modern Americans addicted to sugar, developed a heavy appetite for sugar. And, you had the dark chocolate, but now you had the sugar stuff. And a lot of the old slave trade was for people to harvest sugar and do sugar cane and stuff. I mean, it's crazy history, but that's the way it was. In the U.S., we normally think cotton or possibly tobacco, but it all originally was sugar. And then later on, in places like Jamaica and stuff, rum. But of course, it was all done away with, thank the Lord. So anyway, the Doctor's being philosophical. And this great character who didn't need to be in the story, but who's fantastic, I'm glad they left him in, is also very philosophical. Then the Doctor... so it goes the next morning. And Ace wakes up at the boarding house and stuff. And the Doctor... in the morning, they never show him sleeping, hardly ever. You don't know if he ever does sleep. He goes to a mortuary, a casket maker's, an undertaker, and he says, "Hey, I'm here to get a casket." And the undertaker who's currently working says, "Well, if you gotta wait for the governor, he'll be here soon." And then he kind of looks at the Doctor and goes, which casket? The doctor points to this big, enormous, 8-foot long, looks like casket. And wider than a normal one. Normal casket's about yay wide. This one's about yay wide. And the guy's like, oh, okay. And the doctor says, I want to be alone with the casket. And the guy's like, oh, okay, I'll be in the other room. So he goes to the other room. The doctor tells the casket to open. It does. He takes his Ace's baseball bat and he tells the casket to see what you can do with that. Turns out this casket is the hand of Omega. And it has the ability to harness energy, like literally harness the energy of supernovas, of suns, and create this energy into whatever it needs. So what it does is it supercharges Ace's baseball bat to not only being able to be a physical weapon, but also disseminating energy into anything it's hit against, which is really neat. And the guy in the meantime is on the phone. Yeah, Governor? The doctor, this guy showed up for that casket. Yeah, he called himself the doctor. But you said he was old with white hair, going back to Hartnell, the first doctor. Because apparently the first doctor left like a month before and left this stuff here. A month before in that time. But of course the doctor changed since then. And the doctor tells the casket, okay, give me the bat, follow me. And the guy's still talking to the governor. And the doctor walks out and he goes, oh, but your casket, and the casket's floating out behind the doctor. The guy just faints dead. It's great. I don't think we got his name, but it's funny. So the doctor takes the casket to a cemetery, and he has a blind priest to do the eulogy. And the blind priest is like, well, thank you, doctor. And the doctor's like, is the gravesite ready? He said, oh, it's been ready for a month, which is where you're getting the month from when the first doctor left this area to when the seventh doctor came to this area. And he's like, okay. And he's like, yeah, the gravedigger's wanting to know what we should do with it, but I'm glad you came back. The blind priest obviously does not see there's no one else with the doctor. Obviously does not see the casket's floating. Says a small eulogy, which I don't even think is on camera. But it does say, doctor, your pallbearers, they're quiet as ghosts. The doctor says, exactly.
What a myth.
So the casket goes into the ground.
Yes.
The casket goes in the ground, and the doctor does the traditional throwing a bit of dirt on it. And then he and the priest leave. In the meantime, Sergeant Smith had gotten a call to follow the doctor.
Or like this.
Right, yeah. To follow the doctor, and he does. And then there's a guy following him who grabs him and puts him in a hold, and it's the headmaster from the school.
Yes.
Yeah. And the headmaster...
We never get his name.
We don't. The headmaster says, you're working for the the Rebel Daleks. Where's their base? Where's their base? Where's their base? And he says, I don't know what you're talking about. I work for Ratcliffe and the Alliance. What was it called?
I missed that part.
Oh, okay. He gives him a name like the Alliance or the Association.
Ah, yeah.
Ratcliffe and the Association, which turns out to be a racist organization because we're dealing with that. We're dealing with that here in the 1960s. Yeah, that's it runs throughout this entire serial is the racism thing, which is shown to be very bad, which is correct.
And we're seeing the race war of the Daleks. How
right, but at the same time, there's a race war in the 60s in the UK. Yeah, and the association is on the wrong side of that, as is Ratcliffe.
Yes.
So anyway, and Ace is shown as the outside looking in, going, "What the hell?" Because she's from the 80s, and she in the 50s.
It's like the viewer, the audience's perspective on the situation.
In the 50s and 60s, early 60s, the UK was dealing with the racial stuff thanks to their empire mostly,
Mm-hmm.
the same way we in the U.S. dealt with it in... Hey, you're not supposed to have your phone.
Oh, I didn't.
The same way we were dealing
Sorry.
with it in the 50s, 60s, although we went pretty much right up to 70, with the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. and RFK and JFK. And our race stuff lasted about a decade longer than theirs.
Yeah.
They were just ahead of us on the curve. But anyway, so...
I think they're ahead of slavery also.
Yes.
We're just
well, yes,
by about 10
they
years,
abolished slavery
progression-wise.
They abolished slavery in the United Kingdom before we did here in America. And in fact, that's a great scene in the movie Gettysburg, where they're talking to a representative of
The address one?
There's the movie Gettysburg.
I don't know if I've seen it.
Good movie. 5.5 hours. But good movie.
Oh, that's the one with, what's his face? The Freedom guy? Freedom! The Braveheart guy?
No, it's Braveheart.
I thought he was in... No, now I'm thinking of a World War II movie. No, it's Civil War. The Civil
Gettysburg
War.
is Civil War, right?
Yeah.
There's a movie that came out in the 90s called Gettysburg, which is the most recent movie I've seen with an intermission in it, because it was 5.5 hours without the intermission.
When did that come out?
In the 90s.
Oh.
But anyway, so there was...
A long movie.
It's a long movie. But it's the full Battle of Gettysburg. We're talking everything. Like the Battle of Little Round Top and all that stuff.
Yeah. It had the Braveheart guy in it.
No.
Oh.
Anyway.
Different movie.
Correct. But anyway, I'm trying to backtrack my thoughts to what was relevant.
You should.
Okay. So, no. In the movie Gettysburg, there's a scene where the Southern generals are talking to a representative of the United Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them says, "No, we know that your government will never back a country that still has slavery," which was, like I said, the UK banished slavery before the United States did. They were because they're an older country, much older country. They were way ahead of us on the curve. We caught up to them pretty quick, going between the Civil War and civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
We were only like a decade behind. We were 100 years behind them at the Civil War. We were only like a decade behind them when it came to the civil rights. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they were ahead of us on the curve. And there were some, they just dealt with it much more in the 50s. But there were still scenarios like this in the 60s.
Yeah. Like the whole segregation stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. We were still dealing with that once they were done.
Yeah.
So anyway, where were we? The doctor. Oh, yeah.
The bearing of the casket.
They bury the casket.
Oh, in the block. Where is the rebel base?
Right, Sergeant Smith. Which you're getting hints that he's a bad guy, but it's not explicit yet. Sergeant Smith is attacked by the headmaster, and the headmaster's got his arm back pinned where he can break it if he wants. Ask him, "Oh, you're one of the rebels," yada yada. He says, "No, I just work for Radcliffe in the association." And then, being younger, more flexible, and stronger, Sergeant Smith gets a drop on him. Mm-hmm. And starts asking him, "Well, who do you work for? Who do you work for?" And then the little device on his neck is activated.
Oh no!
And he dies, so that he doesn't disclose any information.
Children's show.
No, family show.
Family show now.
All right. So he dies, and Sergeant Smith knows basically where the Hand of Omega is, although he doesn't know what it is yet. Well, he finds out pretty soon. Mm-hmm. So the doctor goes away. Apparently he bumps into Sergeant Smith, and they end up back at the boarding house that Sergeant Smith's mother runs.
Yeah, right.
And Professor Rachel and her assistant Williams are there, along with Ace, and they're like, "Well, what are we supposed to do? What are we doing?" And the doctor walks in and says, they're like, "Where have you been?" He says, "Working, unlike some people."
Cool.
Yeah, very snarky in this serial. Like I said, I'll explain why. So they get a request to go back to headquarters and meet up with the Commander Gilmore. But Ace is supposed to stay behind. But Sergeant Smith hides the note. He crumples it up. So you don't know if Gilmore told Ace to stay behind or Sergeant Smith is trying to protect Ace and tell him to stay behind.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Right. Well, there's a bit of tension between, physical attraction.
Yeah.
Between Ace and Sergeant Smith the entire serial up until she finds out he's a Hanyak.
Yeah.
And even in the last scene when he's about to shoot her, there's still that tension, you know.
The Sound of Music. I am 16, going on 17.
Oh,
and
he's the right. Yeah. Actually, good call. I like that.
That was a good movie.
I like that. But no, the similarities in the scenes are really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, would you shoot me?
If I have to. I think the one in The Sound of Music was a little bit better of a guy.
Yeah. So.
Wait, no, he wasn't. He did.
He was an actual Nazi, not just a racist Nazi.
He was worse.
He was worse. So anyway, although to be fair, not every Nazi or not every German knew what was going on. You know. Yeah. You got to be fair, especially
conscripted.
Especially that early in when they were going into Austria.
Yeah.
That was before the European theater of the war had started.
Really?
So they had not attacked Poland. They hadn't started rounding up Jews. Mm-hmm. That was before all the real bad stuff happened.
Right.
Austria was pretty early on in the whole deal.
Mm.
To be fair. So they go back. Everybody except Ace goes back to headquarters. The doctor takes over, just flat out. He's like, "Yep, you gotta do this, this, and this." And Gilmore's like
signs for RPGs.
That's a little later. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But no, this is at the headquarters. And
with the transport.
They're playing on they've got the maps on a snooker table, and they're like, "This is what you have to do: get everybody out of here. We don't want
large scale evacuation."
Right, with large scale evacuation.
Necessary.
And the guy's like, "Are you sure?" And he goes to the scientific advisor. Yeah, I trust him. I believe he's the only guy who knows what's going on. I don't know where he gets his knowledge because they haven't figured out he's an alien yet.
Yeah, got a lot of questions for him.
But yeah, he's the only one who knows anything about the Daleks. So he's like, okay. So he makes sure they evacuate the area, the humans, and he puts it under some special act. He says, "Okay, doctor, my military career is now in your hands." And the doctor, being the condescending Hanyak he is currently, it tempers out, but I'll explain it a little bit. He goes, "Trust me, your military career is completely inconsequential." And it's like, damn. Dude, seriously, just give the guy a little reassurance here.
Yeah, that's his career.
Yeah. So the doctor tells him to do all this stuff.
To be fair, it is a little inconsequential in terms of Dalek invasion.
Right. But when you're telling somebody...
He's not really being nice about it.
Yeah. You can go, "Hey, I'm sorry your pet that you loved for the last 12 years died."
Yeah. But we're all also about to die.
No. But it's sad, and I know, but you'll eventually get over it. I'm sorry. And there's the it was just a cat.
Inconsequential.
Yeah, it was just a cat. Who cares, I ran over it on my car on the way over. Sorry, man.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about the doctor's mood in the diner where he's like, "Oh, what's the point of sugar?" And he's like,
right,
kind of questioning his own decisions and stuff.
Right.
He's in a mood for sure.
Right. But this is a fast-paced serial. It could have been 6 episodes easily in previous seasons, but these seasons are only 14 episodes for this doctor, which is way too short. It moves really fast with a lot going on. Like I said, there's one coming up that was 3 episodes. It should have been 6. Ghostlight. So the doctor says, okay, we need to do this. Get all the people out of the area. We've got this group of Daleks and this group of Daleks, and we're hoping they fight and kill each other. But this is what we have to do. In the meantime, Ace decides she finds the for no colored sign on the deal.
Yeah.
She decides she's leaving the place, and she goes back to get her boombox from the 80s that she left at the school. So she goes back to the boombox. In the meantime, the Daleks have shown up. They fix the transmat, and they're showing up in the basement. And they're like, okay, start clearing all the floors, destroy all the humans, which is why the Doctor had everyone evacuated. And Doctor's like, okay, we need to get a spot at the school. And they're like, wait, somebody go get Ace. And they're like, oh no, Ace left hours ago.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, oh, she's probably at the school. So they head off to the school. And the Daleks are searching her out. And they blow up her boombox, which is sad. But Ace pulls out her bat. And the bat has been...
We talked about how it's been supercharged.
Supercharged by the hand of Omega. And she beats... Normally, a bat to a Dalek wouldn't be that good, but this thing is so supercharged that she's actually beating and destroying them. Yeah.
Pieces of them, his eye stalk,
vision
is impaired.
Right, and I mean, she kills one or two, I think. And then she's running around, she's beating on the Daleks, but then they corner her. A little after she finds a few more dead bodies, family show, she manages to think wisely enough. She grabs an RPG and the launcher for the rocket-propelled grenade. But the Daleks end up cornering her in 3 ways, and she's trying to arm the rocket-propelled grenade, but she's out of breath, she's panicking, and episode 2 ends.
Yeah, surrounded by the
Daleks. And
here's a question. Why didn't they just destroy the transmat machine when all of the soldiers were there with the RPGs and... They had guards posted, and the guard had an RPG, and Ace picks up the RPG because he's been dealt with by a Dalek.
Okay, well...
But why didn't the Doctor just, instead of like going off and saying, yeah, I have errands to run, stash Ace, he could have been like, hey, there's a teleportation machine down here. It's going to beam in Daleks, and you should take that out.
Okay, hold on. You're conflating 2 different portions of the show. When the Doctor first messes with the transmat deal...
Yeah, he disables it.
He disables it, but he can't destroy it. They only get the RPG later, and she uses it to destroy that Dalek once he signs for it.
But isn't that...
But no, then she gets a second RPG later on off the dead body right before she gets cornered. They haven't had a chance to deal with it yet.
Well, they had soldiers stationed in the building guarding before all the...
Right, but they didn't have the weaponry.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. I guess it's, just bad timing.
There's only so many RPGs they had. He had to sign for them. But anyway, so episode 3, the cavalry shows up. The Doctor, Sergeant Smith, Commander Gilmore and all that. And they're shooting at the Daleks. But the Doctor created this little beam weapon that disorients them.
Discombobulator.
Right. And Ace jumps to the side, and the soldiers run up and put some plastic explosives on the Daleks' necks. Yeah. They run back, and then they detonate them, and the Daleks die. Except one of them was...
But one.
Yeah, one of them was still alive, and... Professor Rachel goes up and goes, this one's still alive. And the Doctor goes up and goes, what? And then a claw comes out and starts choking the Doctor.
Yeah.
And then Williamson?
Mm-hmm.
Williams?
Susan Williamson.
Yeah, she grabs Ace's supercharged baseball bat, beats the thing, the claw going at the Doctor,
pummeling it,
and then she grabs it and she stabs it into the Dalek machinery at the Dalek inside over and over again. And I was like, okay, it's dead.
To be fair, I guess she didn't know the bat was supercharged.
She saw it earlier as being supercharged, although she wasn't the one that acknowledged it. Professor Rachel acknowledged it.
Right.
But she's just beating the hell out of this alien thing because it's alien that was trying to kill the Doctor, and she's like, ah,
saved the day.
And it's like, okay, she was really cool.
Companion material.
Yeah, she doesn't end up being one, but companion material. Possibly the same for Professor Rachel.
I'd say so, yeah.
And if he hadn't turned bad, Sergeant Smith.
Yeah, he is a baddie.
Yeah.
Well, we've had bad companions before. Turn bad. Then turn good again. Have a whole redemption arc.
Correct. You're thinking very specifically of?
That guy with the eyebrows. And then also the one during the unit and Pertwee year, except he never traveled in the TARDIS.
Yates. You're talking Yates there, and for the modern one, you're talking...
Eyebrows.
Not Adric. What is it? The hell is his name?
No, it's not. I bet it's here in the notes.
He ended up being the alien from the alien planet, and finally got to be the alien.
I liked, his whole story.
It was interesting. Shoot. Turlo. Yeah.
I don't like Turlo at first, but at the very end, he became a little bit more likable.
Correct. He, once again, a redemption arc, which is good. Characters start... Well, he wasn't so bad as he was weak.
Yeah.
He didn't really want to hurt the Doctor, but he was kind of forced into it because he wanted out of where he was. He was just weak.
Well, he was cowardly was his likable trait. Very
cowardly, which is unusual for a Doctor Who companion.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, Ace is saved, the Doctor's saved, and the Doctor's like, okay, we need to take over this school, period. Mm-hmm. And Ace is like, okay, and people are asking the Doctor questions. What's going on? Why are we doing this? And the Doctor's like, I'll explain later. In some cases, he goes, it's a surprise. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so he has everybody set up there, all the military guys, including Commander Gilmore and Sergeant Smith. And eventually, Ace just goes, look, you promised to tell me what's going on. And this is an interesting conversation. The Doctor's like, okay, the Hand of Omega is this thing that the Time Lords use, the Omega, used to create the first supernova from whence the Time Lords were able to run their experiments for traveling in time and able to do all this stuff. And we've encountered Omega. Remember Omega? Mm-hmm. In the Five Doctors?
Yeah, absolutely. Apparently he had a hand in making a hand of Omega.
And it's not really the Hand of Omega. It's just called that because Time Lords are pretentious and can be very pretentious. And Ace goes, yeah, I noticed that. He's like, But she's like, he goes, okay, so we had many problems with the prototypes. And she's like, we? And he goes, they had many problems with the prototypes. And this is a reflection of what I'll explain, like I said, about the Doctor in a minute, you know? Mm-hmm. So she's like, okay, what do you want to do? He says, I want, hopefully, the one set of Daleks to slaughter the other set of Daleks, but I want to get the Hand of Rassilon in the hand of this one set of Daleks.
Yes.
Actually, make sure that the right set of Daleks wins.
All part of the plan.
Right. And she's like, well, what are you doing? What are we doing here? He says, oh, I'm just trying to help these men stay out of the way because I don't think anything's going to happen here. It's like, really? He's like, yeah, I don't want these deaths to be, I don't want them to die and their deaths to be on my conscience. She's like, okay. And this is all a clever ruse. He's like, yes. Okay. So, the pre-unit unit is running around like crazy, setting up everything there. Mm-hmm. And the Daleks actually attack. The Imperial Dalek, the Rebel Daleks show up and they start attacking the soldiers behind the sandbags. And they're fighting, and there's 3 or 4 soldiers that die. Yeah. But right at that exact moment, because the Hand of Omega was dug up and found and dug up by Ratcliffe and his men. Yeah. They take the Hand of Omega back to the Rebel stronghold, which is Ratcliffe's office and storage building.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as fancy as it would seem. Trust me.
While they're digging it up, the creepy little girl was just watching them, and Ratcliffe was very perturbed by this. He's like, "Don't you have anything better to do?" And then he turns around, and all of a sudden she's gone.
Yeah, don't you have a home to go to? Yeah. So you think they're adversaries, etc., etc. So the Imperial Daleks have shown up and started fighting
the white and
rebel Daleks.
Yeah, the gray ones.
Right. And the rebel Daleks have advanced on the school. But once the Imperial Daleks show up and they're fighting, they recall all the rebel Daleks to go away. Which is good for
retreat.
Which is good for the people in the school. But the Imperial Daleks bring out like this mega Dalek. Yeah, it's a personalized tank with this big old gun and laser beam, and it shoots a Dalek. It doesn't blow up that Dalek. It blows up that Dalek and each Dalek on the side of it. It's like it's crazy. So they all
renegade Daleks are in trouble.
Right. So they all retreat
because they're the kind of the purity of the Daleks race. They're like, don't change the design, don't do this, don't do that.
Well,
the Imperial Daleks are the ones that grafted the little claw hand on, and they have the Emperor Dalek and the big head and the tank Dalek.
We find that out in episode 3 that the Imperial Daleks are different than the Rebel Daleks. The Rebel Daleks are just a blob, but the Imperial Daleks have their limbs are not vestigial like the other ones. Their limbs can actually do something, like the claw that grabbed the Doctor.
Yeah.
They can work things inside. Also, they have things grafted onto them that are mechanical.
So different adaptations.
So the whole hatred and differential between these two factions of Daleks are the Rebel Daleks consider themselves completely pure. Goes back to the whole Aryan crap of World War II, which is referenced here, and the Association, which is referenced here. It's all tied in.
Right.
And those they consider impure, and it's all a big fight between that. But this really cool tank Dalek shows up and just starts blasting them. Boom. In the meantime, the Rebel Daleks had killed every helper for Ratcliffe.
Yeah, they're all gone.
He's the only one left. And
Ratcliffe goes, it's time for me to get what's mine. And the Daleks a battle computer Dalek. So this is the mysterious little person sitting in the chair.
Right, there's a little person sitting in a chair with a Dalek stalk, and you don't know who they are. And you thought it was Davros.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
That's
the red herring they're giving.
Yeah, someone was plugged into the battle computer, and the voice sounded like Davros. The mechanized voice through the battle computer. But Ratcliffe is like, "You killed my men. I've been helping you. Where's the power that was promised to me?"
Right.
And the chair rotates. Finally, we get to
see the little blonde girl.
It's the little creepy girl that knew who the Doctor was.
It's not Davros. It's a little creepy girl.
Yeah. And then the helmet lifts up, and then the voice of Davros starts to kind of fade back into the girls, but she's like, "No, what's your reward is you are a slave now to the Daleks."
Yep. So she had the little...
Which is ironic.
Yeah, so she had the little control thing on her neck, too. Being controlled by the Daleks. She's doing all the battle computing for humans because, once again, think Ender's Game. Children are really good at that kind of thing, being creative.
Pulls out the little time-traveling electro orb.
Right, the little static orb, and she's manipulating it, and she's continuing to help the Daleks because she's being mind-controlled to help the Daleks, And she keeps telling Ratcliffe, "Yeah, you're a slave." And Ratcliffe's like, "I can still figure my way out of this. It's like, dude. Okay, so the Doctor and Ace leave Coal Hill School to go hunting Daleks. And Ace is like, "Well, shouldn't we take Sergeant Smith?" And the Doctor's like, no, hunting Daleks is a terminal occupation. She said, "Well, what are we doing?" hunting Daleks.
Yep.
So they wind up at Ratcliffe's place. The Doctor figures out what's going on. He dismantles the time deal, puts his card on it in Gallifreyan.
It has the question mark symbol. And
right, but everything else is in Gallifreyan.
Text.
We've not seen this card again. It's the first time we ever see it. We haven't seen it again.
Yeah, it looks like a calling card for the Doctor, like it's a set piece that's going to be used again. But apparently not.
Yeah, I don't remember it anyway. So then they manage to sneak out, like barely. They notice all the dead bodies on the ground for the men who were killed by the Daleks. And they head back to the base, headquarters. At headquarters, Sergeant Smith drops the name of the Hand of Omega.
Yes.
And Ace is like, how do you know that name?
Wait a minute.
Yeah. He says, oh, you mentioned it. She goes, no, I didn't. And she calls him a grass, which in the United States we would call a plant. He's a plant. He's a mole. He's working.
I thought it was like your ass is grass kind of thing.
No, she calls him grass, which we call him a plant.
Okay. He's a rat.
Yeah.
Ratcliffe.
Right. Or a mole, yeah. Mole. He's working for the enemy. And he goes, I swear, I was just working for Ratcliffe and the Association. It wasn't the Daleks. I didn't know I was working for the Daleks. He gets put under arrest. Manages to escape.
He beats up the poor soldier that's guarding him.
Who's being British kind by getting him like tea.
And then he gets up and he's about to fight him. And he goes, oh no.
He's like, come on, Sergeant. And he beats him up anyway. It's just like, oh, really?
Very strong move.
Yeah, so... Alright. So anyway, so they're back at the school, and the Doctor's like, okay.
Ice, you good?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
So the mothership is up in orbit for the Imperial Daleks, and they send down the little ship, the transport ship, and these Daleks come out to fight the Rebel Daleks. But in the meantime, Doctor's like, oh, they won't land here, we're far away, even though they've noticed burn marks for a Dalek ship in the playground. And, well, the Dalek ship lands there. And Doctor's like, get away from the window. Ace runs away from the window. They all duck. And the Doctor looks up the camera and goes, I may have miscalculated. End of episode 3. Weird ending. It's both a revelation and a slight bit of peril. So episode 4, the Daleks leave the transport ship. They go to fight the other Daleks. They basically, with the help of the real hefty Ironsides mechanized Dalek, manage to defeat them. Most of them are dead, destroyed. Then, hold on. They all decide that they need to go. Oh, they head back to the basement under the school. Oh no! First, the Doctor's like, "Hey, that transport ship's down there. We need to mess with that transport ship." So he throws a rope around an antenna of the transport ship. He slides it down with his umbrella. Because apparently the transport ship has amazing defenses underneath, but none on top, and there's an access hatch on top. He gets into the ship. The Dalek that's in there controlling things apparently cannot disengage his control of the other Daleks. So the Doctor manages to mess with some wires and shut him down. So this Dalek is shut down. Everybody else slides down. They figure out what's going on by accessing the computer on the ship. The Doctor's like, oh, looks like they're going to go back to their planet Skaro, and they're going to use the Hand of Omega to make the sun goes supernova and end up harnessing the energy, yada yada yada, and control that. And he's like, okay. So they leave that and they go back to they're still at the school. They just leave the transport ship, head back into the building of the school, and then the Doctor enlists the help of Professor Rachel and Williamson to bring him a TV while he messes with the transport system down below.
Speaking of old TVs.
Yeah. Oof. Like
I like the one that was in the boarding home that
she turned on and showed the Doctor
tried to turn on. Yeah, and it didn't turn on, and she smacked it. And then by the time she was walking away, it started to come on.
With the Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Our new show, our new science fiction show, Doctor Cut. Just to leave that smidgen of doubt. Anyway, so the Doctor manages to rig stuff down there from the transport system, a TV, and a radio CB system. He jury rigs everything, and he's like, okay. In the meantime, the Imperial Daleks, who've killed almost all of the Rebel Daleks, have taken... First, the Rebel Daleks are attempting to leave with the Hand of Omega, and the girl's got the time device. Sergeant Smith and Ratcliffe are prisoners. Sergeant Ratcliffe grabs the device and runs away, trying to use that as leverage to not save their lives, but try and dominate part of Earth, because he's kind of been promised this by the little girl. And he wants to do that. She runs up and she kills him with electric force Star Wars stuff.
Yeah,
which,
the Emperor.
Yeah, which is obviously a power the Daleks have given her. Or her control, yeah. She kills him. Sergeant Smith runs up, grabs the thing, runs away into the building, and you don't see them for a bit. She runs after him, but you don't see him. Then all those Rebel Daleks are destroyed by the Imperials, except one. And then the Imperial Daleks take the Hand of Omega to the transport ship. They take it up to the mothership. Once it's connected in the mothership completely, the Doctor manages to hail the mothership on the jury-rigged radio signal device, and which they kind of allude to earlier when the Daleks' communications showed up on the radio waves on Ace's Jambox.
Do you know who Jerry is and why he's so good at rigging things?
Jury
rigged.
Yeah, which is a much better replacement for the old term.
Oh, like a court jury.
Yes.
I thought it was like a MacGyver term, like
a guy named Jerry. No, jury, like a court jury.
Oh, okay.
It's a really good replacement for an older term, which fits in with the problems with the serial. Anyway, so the Doctor ends up. Ace explains everything to the Professor and her assistant. In the meantime, while the Doctor's rigging everything. And the Doctor hails the ship. There's the Emperor Dalek with his big bulbous head thing. Not as big as the Emperor Dalek we saw in that Troughton series.
That thing was like 3 stories tall. Remember that one? Before the Daleks segregated from the Renegade Daleks and the Imperial Daleks, so it's kind of like the Emperor Dalek combined with the battle computer. But it was like an old school computer where it's like as big as a room, so it's like
right. From Troughton's era,
Emperor
in the black and white. Yeah. So this one's much smaller, but this is the Emperor Dalek, and the Doctor's like, okay, you are horrible, and you need to return the Hand of Omega. And the Emperor Dalek's like, no, I'm not going to return the Hand of Omega. I'm going to use this to do this, and you're a hose. And the Doctor's like, don't do it. And the Emperor Dalek's like, I could destroy you. And the Doctor's like, you can't destroy me. Every time we met, I've beaten you.
Yeah.
And he insults the Emperor Dalek like over and over and over again. Finally, the Emperor Dalek's like, you will not destroy me. And the top portion opens up, and you see Davros.
Guess who? We found
his head.
Yeah.
Remember, it was just his head in the 5th Doctor's episode?
Yeah.
It's basically the bust portion, and there's all these other wires. And the Doctor's like, you've lost what was left of your humanity. Mm-hmm. I can't say I approve.
Yeah. So the Imperial Daleks are trying to use Davros as their human connection to empathy and battle strategies.
Right, because that's why they brought him back in the last time we saw him. The same way they were using the little girl with the rebels. Yeah. A
la Ender's Game.
Yes.
Cool.
So
cool sci-fi show.
The Doctor is like, no. I will defeat you, and Davros is like, no, I will destroy this insignificant planet. The Doctor's like, no, don't use the hand of Omega to destroy this insignificant planet. And like, don't throw me in the briar patch. Please don't throw me in the briar patch.
Psychology.
Yeah. So Davros initiates that the hand of Omega was told it knew what it had to do, and it did. And it shoots out this quasar thing, which goes to the sun that Skaro is around, makes the sun go supernova, which completely destroys Skaro, and then the feedback quasar comes back and destroys the mothership of the Daleks, but just barely. Davros gets out. The Emperor leaves.
I like how they're giving live updates. They're like, the Emperor is abandoning his post. The Emperor is entering the escape pod.
The Emperor is leaving in his escape pod.
They're all just
yeah.
So we were theory-crafting a little bit earlier about the hand of Omega and how it was referred to as a star customizer. It is used to customize stars. So do you think that's something to do with terraforming planets and making systems more habitable by, the planets that are too cold or too hot, it can heat up or cool down a star?
It was much more about making a star give out the energy you needed to give out so you could harness that energy.
Yeah.
And that's what Omega did originally.
So it heats up the star, but it sabotages the Skaro's sun.
Well, in this case, it just made it supernova.
Yeah. Heated up too much.
Okay, so the Doctor turns off his communication with Davros a bit too early, 20, 30 seconds too early. Doesn't know that Davros escapes. And he's like, okay. The professor asks him, well, what happened? And he goes, well, this is what happened. He explains exactly what happened. And what I just explained is like, okay, so, Davros is dead. The Daleks are dead. And their whole planet's dead, and we're good. So okay.
Yeah.
In the meantime, they're doing a little bit of mop up, and the Doctor goes to. There's one Dalek left, one rebel Dalek on the streets. The Doctor goes to confront it. At the same time, Ace is looking for Sergeant Smith, who got away.
Yeah.
Because he beat up the guy who was being nice to him and getting him tea. He went back to his mother's boarding house that's where you feel safe. That's what you do.
Speaking of British niceness, it almost snowed today. Did it snow today? It was expecting flurries in the morning.
Here in Lubbock?
Yeah, in Lubbock. It was.
I don't know. I was asleep in the morning.
Yeah, I was texting people and they're like, "It's gonna snow," but it reminded me of that Peter Pan, the Hook movie. You ever watch Hook with Robin Williams?
No.
He goes, first impressions really matter. We're in Britain, home of polite people, and Toodles opens the door and he goes, "It's snowing," and he slams the door. Haven't seen Hook? Oh, you have to. It's a classic. Robin Williams.
Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman, right?
He plays Hook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it.
Great performance.
No, but I haven't seen it.
Very good.
Okay, so anyway, at the same time the Doctor's confronting this last Dalek, the rebel Dalek, Ace catches up to Sergeant Smith, and Sergeant Smith has a gun which he took off the guy he beat up, and she's like, "You gonna shoot me with that?" He's like, "If I have to." And she's like,
So cool.
Yeah. Well, he knows he could possibly hang for what he's done.
Treason, basically.
Yeah, treason. In the meantime, the little girl shows up, knocks on the door of the boarding house, and he opens the door, and she just electrifies and kills him.
What is it the Emperor says when he's shocking Luke?
You will come to the dark side or die or something.
Yeah.
But she shocks him and kills him, and there's this great shot, which they show about 3 or 4 times, of him dead on the stairs and his glassy eyes staring up. And
same with Radcliffe when he's on the staircase.
Right.
Zooms in on his
the message that racism is bad is a great message, and it's reinforced here vigorously, you know?
Yeah. Bad guys.
Racism sucks. Yeah. Anyway, so then the little girl confronts Ace, and I don't know why she's going after Ace, except Ace kind of messed up with the plans.
At this point, she still has the time travel unit thingy that Smith had that he took from
right. But we have no idea why she's confronting Ace, except Ace helped mess up the Daleks' plans.
Yeah, she doesn't realize, the battle computer doesn't quite realize that it's lost its stream of data and computing.
Well, there's still the connection for the one Dalek.
The one Dalek, yeah.
Right. And so the Doctor goes and confronts that one Dalek and says, "Hey, you have no superiors, you have no inferiors. Your home planet's been destroyed. You have no more mission. You are defeated. It's over." And this Dalek can't handle it. And he just starts spinning around. Actually, I think clockwise. Starts spinning around and goes crazy and ends up exploding and killing himself. And at the exact same time that the little girl's going to kill Ace, she starts doing the same thing. That's the last Dalek she's connected to. And then she falls down in a bit of a fit.
Mind control chip fries. The little girl's free again. She starts crying. Ace comforts her. Yeah. But it's interesting because it means that Daleks literally cannot handle the concept of losing and surrendering. It's always, I'd rather die.
And we've seen a bit of that before.
Escape. Yeah.
And we will see a bit of that again.
So even with like them incorporating the human nature into their stratagems, like they don't know about self-preservation through surrender.
And they can't handle losing. Yeah. So, at the end of the episode, there's a funeral for what looks like Sergeant Smith.
Or Radcliffe. Probably it's a military.
No, probably Sergeant Smith. It's a military funeral, and the commander's there. Even though Smith was a bit of a double agent, treasonous traitor. And the Doctor and Ace are at the back end, and Ace is like, "We did good, didn't we?" And they're just like, "Only time will tell." And they kind of skip off and don't attend the funeral, even though they're part of the procession.
Going back to that theme of questioning his decisions and the unintended consequences.
This was so much better written that it looks at first glance. You have to see it a few times to see the layers in it, and it's really good.
Like an onion. A lot of layers.
Yeah. But, you know, that's why ogres are not like onions. But no. It's
end of episode 4.
Yeah, and the serial, and it's really, really well done.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions at all?
I had no real questions for episode 4. It was pretty straightforward, other than what we talked about already. We covered questions for episode 2 and 3, or 1 and 2. Episode 3, I think the only one we didn't cover was the RPG thing. So, like, apparently, since they said the Doctor's a trusted entity, he can just sign off on these military-grade explosives. Like, the truck shows up with RPGs, and the Doctor's like, "Oh, it's time for it."
That was episode 2, but yeah.
Oh, episode 2. Oh,
yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That was all my questions.
Not much of a question, but okay. All right. Okay.
I just didn't get it I don't know, at the time.
Yeah,
but it was so fast paced. I didn't really get
right.
that he was became a trusted entity. It kind of seemed like he was just.
Once again, in the 70s, this would have been 6 episodes easily. Now with the shortened span from 24, 25 to 14, they have to chop these things up and make them real fast, which kind of sucks, because you don't get the explanations you would otherwise.
Yeah.
But still, like I told the audience, I'm glad they left the scene in with the Jamaican guy.
Oh yeah.
Because it was a great scene.
That was fantastic.
A great scene. You could have left that out,
a great character,
and no one would have known and advanced the plot more. But that was a great scene.
Yeah, I really loved the Doctor sitting there.
Philosophizing.
Ruminating. He's like, oh, what are the consequences to my actions? Speaking of which, you said you would explain the Doctor's attitude in this serial.
Alright. Last season, the Doctor was an absolute clown because the guy who's playing the Doctor, McCoy, was originally a children's entertainer. Starting with this season and going into the next season, the show was hinting very hard that the Doctor was more than just a Time Lord.
Oh, the first, was it?
Okay.
The child?
Well, no. That's later on. That has nothing to do with this. Or probably has nothing to do with this.
Are they hinting at like maybe a parental thing where his dad was a Time Lord and his mom was a Earth
What they're hinting at is there were 3, and this comes up a little bit later.
Yeah,
Omega. There are 3 great people who established the Time Lords. Rassilon, Omega, and the Other.
The Other.
And the big giant inferences is the Doctor is the Other.
Is the Other. Oh,
like we had problems with the prototypes. I mean they. The hint is he was there with Omega and Rassilon, and he is the Other.
I interpret that as just him kind of disowning the Time Lords, like he wants to be his own thing.
No.
But
it's there, and the whole point is to give him more gravitas, give him more history, and to give him more. He's more of a time entity, and abilities. Yeah. Right.
So more than the set number of regenerations.
Well, yeah, but more than the set number of generations is still absolute at this point. Oh. But no, the whole thing is to make him this mysterious, enigmatic Time Lord. So the Doctor's more than just a Time Lord.
Yes,
he's one of these great Time Lords.
He's a great Time Lord.
But that's the whole thing, and that goes through this and next season, while he's the Doctor.
So we'll possibly get more confirmation on this.
Only hints. The show didn't last long enough for them to solidify this. And then later on, the timeless child is crap. But yeah, it happens. But no, there's this whole thing of. He's more bitter. He's more
he's going back to return to
he's a bit more to that. But it's because he's this more than what we thought he was. He's not a clown. He's this great founder and all that. And
that makes sense.
Right, and they're trying to bring him added depth with this. But it's never quite finalized, in what remains of the show, which is only, in this iteration, 7 more serials.
Yeah.
7 more stories.
And then they cancel it?
And it was canceled, in late 1989. Because there's 3 more serials for the current season 25, and then once again, like season 24, 25, 26, only 4 serials for 26. And then it was over. And it ends, ironically enough, on a story called Survival.
Oh. But the show did not survive, ironically.
Yes, it ended and was revived in 1996.
So it did survive. Hey.
And
Well,
it
it was
revived again in
resuscitated.
2004. Yeah.
It did die, but we brought it
It's
back.
undead. We're going to
came
bring it
back.
back. Yeah, exactly. And still going, at least currently to this day. Okay, so that's why the Doctor is the way he is in this story.
Okay.
And why he's being the way he is, and why he's...
Kind of snippy.
Yeah,
Or
snippy and very... I know better than all that, you know?
Yeah.
It's not a good look for the Doctor, and it tapers out over time.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of the added depth that gave his character that never materializes.
He's even hinting at that too with his authority, and he's talking to the Emperor Dalek or Davros, and he goes, "I am the president-elect of the Time Lords."
Well, that goes back directly to the Fifth Doctor, yeah.
And then the Daleks, their whole plan is they're trying to usurp the Time Lords as to become the new Time Lords.
Lords of Time, yeah.
To Lords of Time, to establish their own timeline. Because that's something that was also hinted at, was the Doctor said even the Daleks aren't so brazen to drastically change the timeline. And that would be because that would kind of be like an act of war against the Time Lords, which they know they can't directly overcome.
Right, but eventually they almost do defeat the Time Lords in the War of Time.
That X factor, like the Hand of Rassilon, or some sort of power source to give them that edge, so they can defeat them.
They end up eventually defeating them on sheer numbers.
Ooh.
Well,
I mean, they are,
almost defeating them. The Time Lords survive, and we'll see that in the 50th anniversary.
Cool.
Yeah.
25 more years to go.
Well, 25 years
Halfway
in
there.
Doctor. In the actual timeline of Doctor Who, but there's a lot of skipped years in there.
Yeah. So that brings us to Doctor Who news?
Okay. Doctor Who news. Well, we covered a little bit of it because the 60th anniversary specials are finally released after being held by a year by Disney. Being held by a year by Disney. We can finally purchase these and watch them in the U.S. without having to subscribe to Disney Plus. And in the U.S., I mean, like, it's not just the U.S., it's everywhere outside of the United Kingdom and Ireland.
Worldwide.
Yeah, pretty much worldwide. And like I said, I will start watching those right after I receive that as a Christmas present here in a couple weeks.
We talked a little bit about how that might be a melancholic experience for you. There might be some decisions you agree with, some decisions you don't like.
So this, we've talked about it a little bit before, but not a whole lot. But Disney has been on a horrible woke DEI crap forever.
A lot of companies are actually dialing that back. You hear Walmart and
Right. Especially after the election. Mm-hmm. So Trump won the election, even the popular vote, everything awesome, great. So a lot of companies and corporations are going, oh, the winds are against us. Mm-hmm. Let's lean into the winds.
Well, that's something the consumers have been saying for a while, that the companies were only doing it as a profiteering type of strategy. They don't actually care about diversity and equity and
many of them, some of them do, but a lot of them were forced to by Vanguard and BlackRock.
Oh, the big investors.
Right, but some of them, like the Jaguar commercial. Have you seen that?
Yeah, where there's no cars in it. Or
something. It's weird. All right, sorry, this is going to veer a bit into politics, but essentially, when it comes to Disney, which currently distributes Doctor Who in most of the world for streaming, Bob Iger, who's the CEO of Disney, is retiring in a couple of years. Okay, that's his plan, and he decided his legacy, which as you get older, you're more worried about how you'll be remembered than what you're doing currently.
Right.
How will I be remembered? Which I'm not there yet, but I could see that coming down the pipe. But it's he decided he doesn't want to be remembered as the guy who destroyed Disney.
Yeah,
he wants to be remembered as the guy who saves Disney.
He came out with this statement saying, we need to return to the consumers and the fans and focus on what's important in storytelling. And then if we can put a positive message in there, if it fits with the story theme, then we can do so. And we've kind of seen that, in 1988, where they're putting in themes of racism is bad, and that's always been a kind of thing
racism is bad.
Yeah. It's just that they've taken that to some nth degree, and they're like, they talk to it. They explain it as chastising the viewer, saying you must be this and do this and that, and they kind of go overboard with all the themes and the moral preaching. Or is what a lot of people are saying after he said, he made that statement.
Yeah, but going back to Disney specifically, he wants to be seen as the savior of Disney, not the killer of Disney, even though all this woke crap, or the vast majority of it, happened under his watch. There's a little bit of it that happened under the other Bob's watch.
Bob.
Correct. So, he said, okay, Inside Out 2, the girl was going to be lesbian.
Oh.
But take that out. Take out all the woke crap.
I still haven't seen the new Inside Out.
Neither have I.
Oh,
but
I heard it's good.
He's right. It is good because they took out the woke crap.
Oh.
And so the movie was good. It was a hit. Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds wasn't going to let anything be woke. So it was a hit.
Was fun.
So it's like, wait, we can make money off movies again? So he has two big problematic movies next year, which is Captain America 4, which is Captain America without Captain America. It's got Falcon as Captain America.
Yeah.
And the Snow White debacle.
Oh, yeah, the one that they kept redoing the dwarves and the CGI, and the fans kept backlashing.
So he probably has to release them and take his lumps. Because they're each going to lose at least $400 to $500 million.
We saw that happen with the Batgirl movie, and they said instead of releasing this basically fully made movie, we're going to can it and take the tax write-off.
But that was Warner Brothers, and that was $100 million. These are each $400 to $500 million.
Ooh,
before advertising.
Yeah.
And Disney is stubborn. So I think they're going to take the hits on those. And then, hopefully, past that, everything will be non-woke. So here's the thing about Doctor Who. Here's the tie-in. Season 1, Series 14, whatever you want to call it, for Doctor Who, is out. It's in the can. It's done. Oh. We won't get it for another year. No. This is just the specials.
Oh.
This is the 60th anniversary specials.
So we don't have this season.
Series 1 was was broadcast earlier this year.
Oh, it's not on DVD yet.
Well, it is in the UK and
here.
Ireland, not here because of that year-long delay that Disney has, which angers me.
For their streaming, okay, I see.
Right, so they can force people on the streaming to see it, and it was supposedly like this, horribly woke, but supposedly with this riding the ship at Disney. They, with all the refilming they've been doing on Snow White and on Captain America 4, they may do some more refilming on Series 15 of Doctor Who, Season 2 of Doctor Who, and take some of the wokeness out of it to try and make it popular. But we don't know. We'll see.
Right. Ultimately, we're hopeful for the creative decisions in Doctor Who moving forward.
Well, after this Season 1, Series 14, and Season 2, Series 15. And we'll see what the future holds. The question is where's that future coming from? Because if Disney keeps financing it, great. Especially if they've righted the ship and they're no longer woke. If Disney doesn't, Sony owns a bad wolf. Does Sony put in money, which would be good because Sony is not woke? Or does the BBC put in money? But they're trying to get away from that. So where's the future of Doctor Who after the current season that's in the can? Hopefully the series is fixed and Disney is happy with it, and they're not woke and it's not woke, and they continue. But we don't know. We just absolutely do not know at this point.
Only time will tell.
Correct. But it always does, as the doctor says.
Yeah. So that's it for Doctor Who news. Anything else in the pipeline?
There's a classic season of Doctor Who that's been announced for the United Kingdom, but not for the United States. But that means it'll be the next one for the United States. I think it's 7 or 9.
So we're getting Blu-rays. Any reconstructions? Any animations with that?
No. This is all. No.
8 and 9 were past all the reconstructions.
Right. The what was reconstructions and are now becoming animations was season 1 through 6. So this is where the BBC is avoiding the first 6 seasons until they get everything animated. Mm-hmm. Then they'll bring it on Blu-ray. So they're continuing the others from season 7 to season 26. And in fact, season 25, we should have a date on soon for the United States.
All right.
Which is the one we're actually watching right now.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other news I have.
Any other final thoughts? Queries?
One thing. One of our recent heroes and villains has 100 views.
Hey, we're blowing
Which
up.
is literally viral for us, because we usually get like 20 views.
We've gone mega viral, you guys.
But it was a hero and villain. I'm like, what the heck? I mean,
I'll go check out those statistics when I get.
Yeah, I think it might have been Sabalom Glitz or somebody. Or,
he's a good one.
Yeah, or it was
Did
just...
we do it yet? Oh, we did.
Yeah, we did. That. But it was just one of the weird ones. Like,
he's alive.
right. It was like a 15-minute thing instead of a like this 2.5 hour thing. That it was just so weird. It was like, okay, 20 views, 30 views, 20 views, 99 views. What the heck, Just a lot. I mean, cool.
Someone listens to us on a playlist at night, just over and over again. We lull them to sleep. Well, thank you as always for watching. Thank you for your viewership, and we'll see you in the future.
Next week, hopefully.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to hop back onto our own timelines. Oh boy.
All right.
What an adventure in and of itself.
All right. And by the way, today is December 10th, 2024. This aired from October 5th, 1988 to October 26th, 1988. And what's the name of the next serial?
Oh, what is the name of the next serial? Not the Silver Moon. That's the season.
No, the Silver Nemesis is the last serial of this season. Let's see.
Okay. 153.
Yep. The Happiness Patrol.
The Happiness Patrol, that sounds dystopian.
It is.
Sweet.
3 episodes, and oh my
only 3 episodes.
Gosh. All right. Paradise Towers had the Candyman, right?
Sounds familiar.
You're the big candy guy, and that was Paradise Towers?
I don't know.
Okay, if he wasn't in Paradise Towers, he's in the Happiness Patrol, and that will be interesting.
Creepy. I don't think I remember the Candyman.
Oh. Well, guess what?
So he must be in this one, yeah.
And we're not talking about the horror guy, the Candyman, but...
So remember...
Oh, no, Happiness Patrol had the women who were cannibals and the pool. You remember that, right?
No. Oh, yeah,
The thing came out of the sewer and grabbed the women.
I remember the Paradise Towers.
Oh, no. We'll get the Happiness Patrol, and you'll get the Candyman.
Oh, boy. Speaking of cannibals, I've been playing Sons of the Forest lately. It's this creepy survival game. It's like a horror game. I go and explore caves where cannibals live. But I got stranded on the island. It's like Lost. Yeah, it's a survival game. Anyway, make sure to bring your smile, because coming to a screen near you, the Happiness Patrol. Doo-doo-boop-a-doop-boop.
Bye.